Hello out there, I'm the oldest nerd. Today we're talking Dream a Little Dream. This is an interesting episode in that it mixes its genres. It's science fiction, it's a courtroom drama, it's a murder mystery, and it's also a comedy. The problem with it is that it really doesn't have any connection with the story arc that it pretends to tell about. Zan tells the story. It opens up because she has nightmares, and these nightmares are enough to alarm Crichton, and they're together on a shuttle. We don't know why or why they're a good half hour away from where Moya is. They don't really explain that. It just makes it useful to tell the story where you have a one-on-one and nothing else to do until they come and rescue them, and allows Zan to tell her story. The story itself really doesn't address why she's having the nightmares, why anything happened, to tell you the truth. It was just kind of a story within a story that did not really explain anything in the story outside of the story. Now, it had a good open where they show a flashback of Aaron and John dying. Aaron's blown out of the space with overwhelming attacks, and Crichton's helmet, for some reason, cracks and starts leaking air until his face explodes. And it just shows us that, Dargo's not going to survive, but that's all in the opening. And it grabs you, but then doesn't go anywhere. It's Zan's nightmares. Why is she having the nightmares? Well, let me tell you a story. And the story really doesn't connect. The dream song was ad-libbed by Ben Browder. He does a lot of ad-libbing in the show, and a lot of it is kept in because a lot of it is very good. Dream a Little Dream of Me is an old 30s song. It was meant to be kind of a pun in the title, as they've been doing in this season. And he had the idea of just singing a couple of bars of it, and they had to go and get rights for the song before they could go to air with this. But none of it happens on Moya, and the reason is because, except for Pilot in his area there, but the rest of Moya had not been rebuilt. Between season 1 and season 2, they had to move studios. And when they did that, they didn't have enough time to put all of the Moya set together. So they have this in a couple of fairly simple sets that they were able to build for this episode: the bar, the courtroom, and the jail cells, and a little bit of outside. And that didn't take much because that is pretty straightforward, whereas Moya is considerably more complicated. So that was the reason it was done that way, and it was the reason that it was put as the first show that they shot for the second season. Now, this is already 3 in to the second season, but it was shot first because of this set situation. What is interesting about the show is that this is the episode that sold the show to Sci-Fi. Now, it hadn't been filmed yet, but they had marketed the scripts to various places, and they had about 4 scripts out there. None of them were the pilot, but just sample scripts of what a show would be like. And the first one that the executive for Sci-Fi saw was this show, and he loved the idea of a planet that had 90% lawyers. He thought it was funny, and it was intended to be a funny episode. At the time that they wrote this, they were thinking of Farscape being more of a comedy than it turned out to be. And so there's a lot of comic stuff in the episode. For instance, the courtroom scenes could have come out of the Three Stooges. If you remember, if you've ever seen Three Stooges comedies, there is a classic one called Disorder in the Court, where they're trying to get Curly out of a murder charge or something like that. And everything that they do would never have gotten away with in any kind of court, and wouldn't have been decided in their favor anyhow. But what we have here is essentially the same thing, where we have a lot of interaction between Chiana and Rigel, who have become kind of lawyers for Zan, who was at first going to be put on trial for jaywalking, and then they were able to frame her for murder. And so the activity in the courtroom was all meant for laughs. And put it in the context of everything that's happened so far, the show has changed a lot since that episode was written. But because of the fact that without this particular episode, Sci-Fi would not have bought the show, and we may have never seen it, it's at least useful for that. So there are a few interesting things there. They make reference to the Kidva, which was the monster of the previous episode, where they made barbecue out of it. And apparently what leads the shuttle not to be working is that Rigel stocked away some of the Kidva in the navigation array of this shuttle for no real reason. They just say, oh, that's just Rigel. But I mean, once again, it was just a device in order for them to have the shuttle blink out on them. And why they're on the shuttle, they still don't say exactly why. They talk about the planet, which is populated by litigarans, which is so close to litigation, it plays with the idea that you have 90% lawyers. Any society that had 90% lawyers would not function with only 10% of what they call utilities, which are the people who did everything else. The bartenders, the street cleaners, the garbage men, the milkmen, everything like that. And the whole idea behind it is that those people don't deserve rights, only the lawyers do. And the idea that the law started from a little bitty book, but they put it into volumes to justify all the lawyers. And so it's kind of a poke at the legal system that we have now, and what would happen if it just completely went out of control. We do have interesting points between Rigel and Chiana. Up to now, they've all been troublemakers, but they show you in this episode that they really do like each other and will fight for each other. They could have easily, in this, said that they would just leave for Moya and let Zan fry. But they stick with her even in the danger to themselves. And that says a lot about these two characters, which up to now have been mostly in it for themselves, mostly just making trouble. Interesting line in my favorite, or series of lines, my favorite in this episode, where Pilot says over the comms, Moya wants to know, I want to know, if you stay, will you be able to save Zan? Rigel says, I think I might have a way. It's chancy and will require lashings of deception and trickery. Chiana says, finally, you and I get to play to our strengths. And they do. It's a good showcase for them. Still, the problem is that the story is all kind of thrown together and surprising what TV executives like and what's really good. However, one little thing on there, and this is just kind of a Deus Machina, light of truth. You find out all you have to do is set fire to a stick of wood, and if someone is telling a lie according to their customs, the stick of wood will get brighter. And through the trickery of Rigel and Chiana, they're able to find someone who they know is lying and make this light of truth burn brighter and cause Zan to be let off. It's a miracle kind of thing that really would not work, considering that despite the fact that the book that their society is based on has that in there, but it's been built on where everything has to be in legalese and specific facts and testimony and things like this. It really wouldn't have held. but nothing that happened in this court held. The helium fart also just was there for a laugh, and as was Chiana's hangover cure that she overdosed on and became hyper. These are all kind of funny things, but it really tells the story of something that was written as a comedy rather than something that had any shred of believability to it. So that's what I get out of this. I think that there is decent character development. Beyond that, the show's kind of a waste. We only give it some kudos for being the show that sold the series. So if you get a chance to watch the show or just would like to comment on what we've said here, please put it in the comments below. We would appreciate it. And if you've not subscribed, please do. That helps the channel, and clicking a like always brightens my day when I see one. So I thank you, those who've done that already. And want to remind you, we're coming back on Thursday with Professor O. We're going to be talking about the Hail Mary project. And so a most recent, it's the only 21st century movie that we have reviewed. So that should be interesting. That's coming up this week. And then, of course, on Friday, we'll be back with the next episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. So thank you for joining us. Until next time, don't go far.